Favourite time of the week is to talk to our favourite person in the world, the wonderful Megyn Kelly. It doesn't matter what she says, it always makes news, and there's been a bit of it this week. Rockstar, lovely to see you. How does the brand new America smell?
Oh my gosh, it's wonderful, Paul. I can't recommend it highly enough. It's just, I said today, it's like you go to sleep and you wake up and you realize all of your dreams have come true. Everything I hoped for is happening minute by minute. These executive actions are spectacular. The Laken-Riley Act just passed and was signed into law. Everything he's doing, we're already arresting over 300 illegal immigrants who have committed crimes. I mean, everything. He's firing the DEI heads across the federal government. It's like an instant utopia, or at least road to. So I don't know. What is it like? What's the line at the end of Willy Wonka, my favorite movie? It's don't forget what happened to the boy who suddenly got everything he always wanted. He lived happily ever after. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. Sort of a continental amount of Glen 20, Glade, whatever your preferred air freshener is, it is wafting across the Pacific, and ever so slightly we're getting the smell here, and it seems
Come
like,
on in.
Yeah, we're all ready to go. Now, you gave a speech the day before the inauguration, and it was spectacular. I want people to go back, watch it all, because you lay it out clearly about what your expectations are and your hopes are. But I was so pleased that you gave a cautionary note to everyone who is excited at this point in time, which is, okay, we're back in the game, we've got the ball, we're leading, but we haven't won the war. This is such an important thing for people to understand, that the victory isn't just getting back there, the victory is getting the country back to where good people have wanted it for a long time.
That's exactly right. And, there were 2 points I was making, and I'll take them in reverse order, starting with the one you raised. And that is, it's great that Trump is doing all this by executive order, and a lot of it can be done by executive order. But it's much, much better if it's done by law, if we can get actual laws written into place that can dismantle some of the things that have been done, especially on the women's issue and the women in the prison and the boys and girls sports and all of that, because then it can't just be undone by an executive order from the next president. Now, all the DEI stuff is already illegal. It's been illegal for a long time. They've just not been enforcing the law that makes it unlawful to discriminate against any racial group, including whites, in hiring and at the university level now, thanks to affirmative action and so on. So that law just needs to be enforced, and Trump means business in enforcing it. But there's a lot of stuff that he's doing by executive order that we love, and we just need written into law, and it's going to take some expenditure of political power. And I think he'll do it. But in other words, live by executive order, die by executive order. And so if we can get things through legislatively, we'll be in a lot better position come the next president, if it's a Democrat. And that's going to require hard work and patience and people calling their congressman and their senator and being a squeaky wheel. And that's in part what I mean by fight. But it also requires, and this is point 2, people like the people I mentioned in the speech, people who take risks, people who see that this nonsense is still going on at their workplace or their school, and put their necks on the chopping block to say, this is wrong, I object, and I'm going to publicly out you. And there remains risk in doing that in blue cities and circles, because even though Trump says it by edict, doesn't mean it has popular support in every circle. Net it does nationwide. We're seeing that in the polls. But if you work at Columbia University, do you think it's going to go over well when you fire your DEI chief? Okay. Or when they sneak DEI or affirmative action into or mandated pronoun use into your college curriculum, and you have to be the librarian who speaks up? That takes a lot of guts. And it especially took a lot of guts in 2020 and 2021. And there were soldiers, in quotes, on this battlefield for a long time who, I don't want to be overly dramatic, but in some way we lost, in some way lost a lot, and did not lose their lives, but lost their livelihoods because they were among the first to speak out and challenge this regime that gave other people the courage to do so. And I just think, as we're nearing what I think is the end of this battle, this war, it's not over, but we're down the field. Those people need to be remembered, and we need to look back and make sure they're okay. If they're not, we need to pick them up. We need to help find them jobs. I listed a couple of them, but the one woman who stays with me is named Jody Shaw. She worked at Smith College. She was in administrative work, a lower level person. And she did do this in 2020 at Smith College, saying, stop talking about my race at work and stop making me talk about it. And stop telling me I have implicit bias against people of color because I'm white. And she did it because she has two sons and she knew exactly what they do to two young white boys in this society that they were creating. And she wound up getting fired by Smith over some pretextual nonsense. It was obviously because she spoke out over this. And here we are almost 5 years later, Paul, and she doesn't appear to have found a job. Her life has not been righted. And she's one of the people I'm talking about. I need to find Jody Shaw, I keep calling her Smith because if she works Smith, a job. I need a college to say, I will hire her. I will make it right. And we need to look around in our own lives and see who else went down like that and help them, pick them up off the field and get them back to safety and well-being. It's all part of the resettling that I think we need to go through. It's not enough to declare victory and say, yay, we got to pick up those we left behind, and we've got to remember that others are still about to get hurt, because just because we declare it solved doesn't mean it's instantly solved.
Yeah, the no man left behind, as applicable on the battlefield, it is in the battlefield of ideas and the battlefield of life. I thought it was stunning, your speech. So profound and important that people, I really want them to go and have a look at it. It's up on our Facebook page, obviously, to go and find it. Trump's first days, I've been fascinated to watch how does the establishment media, because I refuse to do the mainstream. I'm so sick of those of us in common sense mainstream commentary referring to them as the mainstream. No, they're the establishment, they're the access, they're the dominant, they're the regime, all the rest of it, media, right? Now, obviously in 2016, no one has a meeting, but, the vibe seemed to be cover this as chaos. So every day it had to be chaos. So if he did 3 things a day, that's an example of his chaos. If he made decisions that had potential negative consequences for certain people, cover that as chaos. Trying to watch the first couple of days of how they are covering the decisions, and they're obsessing in and around the January 6 pardons, Biden and his family, whatever, yesterday's news, despite the precedent that's going to set here. We know they've learnt no lessons, but their power to create the chaos narrative is grossly diminished, if not is not going to work for a while. Their psychological warfare approach of if we turn up the noise, then eventually the Democrat promises to turn down the noise, and then that's how we make Trumpism, MAGA go away. How do you feel about how the media is playing the early days?
Poorly. They're up to their old tricks, and they're not going to change. They hate him too much. It really is the divide between the elites and the regular folks here. I mean, the media doesn't even represent the Democrat Party anymore. They just represent some sort of so-called elite faction of the Democratic Party, these rich millionaires who like to pat themselves on the back about how wonderful they are and what virtuous people they are. Meanwhile, even the Democrats are on board with the Trump agenda. The polls this week show it. The New York Times showing the polling on the transgender issue. A vast majority of Democrats are now where I am on these issues. It's amazing to me, both on the we've gone too far in, quote, accommodating this trans madness, on getting boys and men out of the sports of girls and women, in getting them out of women's private spaces. They're all over where high percentages, pushing 70% of Democrats are now in favor of this stuff, and the same on illegal immigration. They look like Republicans now in the Democrat Party, but you would not know that to watch CNN or to watch MSNBC or to watch CBS. They're not adjusting their coverage because reality is setting in. They're digging in because they really need to feel like they were right about this stuff and they're the good, virtuous people. And I don't think they're going to stop, and I don't think their bosses are going to make them stop. Look at Gayle King. As we've watched President Trump take the oath of office, she was focused not on the historic change, not on the mandate that he's been given, not on the working class feeling heard, not on the problems of the media, but on why she didn't see more people of color inside the Capitol Rotunda. You can't help people who cannot help themselves.
The reaction to your comments around Jeff Bezos' fiance, girlfriend, whatever, turning up in pretty obviously inappropriate gear to the inaugural has been amazing. Like, it literally was a day-long news story in Australia that Megyn Kelly absolutely. Oh, mate, I'll send it all to you. That you ripped and teared. What's been the dumbest clapback that you've heard from people about why your take that she looked like a hooker was wrong?
I don't know. Some people will like to point to other like saucy photos of me in the past and say like, oh, so there you go. And I laugh because it's like, no one's arguing that you can never bring the sauce. I mean, no woman would make that argument. I've brought the sauce in the past and I've loved every minute of it, but not at the damned presidential swearing in. It wasn't even like at an inaugural ball. That's fine too. I wouldn't have ripped on her for that, though she's always dressed like a prostitute, to be honest. I mean, it's not like a one-off. But you are one of the favored few who's not only in the rotunda, which only has a couple hundred people in there, but you're going to be on camera right behind the president and the first family, and you decide now would be a great time to show my boobs. I wonder if people would like to see my boobs. Whether they do or they don't, here they are. Well, look at them. I'm going to put on the white lace. I'm going to shove them together. I'm going to make sure the vest or the jacket goes down to my navel so you can make sure you see the girls, which I constantly brag about and put on display in every interview I give. And you can find them. They're about, 5 inches below my enormous fake lips, which are also manufactured by a doctor. I just, like, this woman is not the picture of class. I'm entitled to see, observe, and comment on that because that's what I do. And if you don't like it,
I think we end in the right place. You're the best, Megyn. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.